Welcome to A Well-Designed Business with your host, LuAnn. LuAnn has a lifetime of experience building a multi-million-dollar business with her husband and cousin, and she knows the challenges you face in your interior design business. LuAnn brings you real-life answers to your most pressing problems, as well as practical strategies to explode your interior design business. So, let's get to the business of interior design.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Power Talk Friday. I'm so happy to tell you that I have my buddy Nancy Ganzekaufer with me today. Hi Nancy, how are you?
Good, LuAnn. How are you?
I'm great. And I just want to say, first of all, that if you guys are not familiar with Nancy, if you might be a new listener to the podcast, Nancy has been on the show 2 other times. It was the first time back episode, I want to say, was it 15, Nance, where we did Niche is Rich and Broad is Broke, right? And then we also, was it 120? I should have looked it up, darn it.
I think it was 159.
159. You're exactly right. It was 159. And 159, we did I love that episode because it was a very actionable conversation about getting clear and confident on who and what you are and what you offer. And then you walked us through setting our 90-day goals, our 1-year goals, and our 3-year goals. It was a great exercise. I really loved it. I remember I was like scribbling like crazy pants. So today, we are going to talk about your business in words. And before we get to this actionable exercise, I'm going to give everybody just a chance to either say mentally to themselves, oh, shoot, I'm running, walking, jogging now, and I'm going to have to re-listen and take notes. Or if you happen to be a place where you can grab a pen and paper, because this is going to be that kind of a show. But before we get to it, I just want to, number one, say thank you to you, Nancy. I have had such a great time these last 8 weeks. We're 8 weeks through our 10-week, our premier coaching program together. We've been doing money, mindset, and sales, and we have an awesome group of people, and the emails and the homework assignments and the in-depth, right? What's going on?
Stars. They're rock stars.
I love
this
it.
group really, really works hard to get themselves to the next level,
It's
and
the truth.
They communicate well. It's been fabulous.
I have been very impressed, and I have had only, of course, in this particular online coaching group that we've been doing, part of the offer was that each person also got a free one-on-one hour coaching, personal coaching, each with me and each with you. And I am just finding that so interesting and rewarding. Actually, it's been really it's amazing. I've had a great time. And so what happened is, everybody, since this was like so really, you guys, you know me, I want to have fun all day long. That's the truth. But when it comes to business, it has to have a return on investment. It has to be worth our while. All of us, each of us, everything that we do related to our business, that we attach a value to it. Sometimes the value is, did it earn me new clients, and did it make me new money? And sometimes the value is, did I learn something that will help me be a more confident business owner, or a more efficient business owner, or just to be a better business owner, right? And so I really have been very happily, I can't say the word surprise, but I've very happily experienced that I see this happening on many levels with a lot of the participants, and of course the interaction and the enjoyment of doing it together with you. So here's what we decided. We decided we're doing it again.
We're doing it again.
So, but what we're going to do is we're launching in January. It is called 6 Weeks to Success. So I'll say a few words. I want you to say your take on it too, Nancy. But I want to say that we thought long and hard, because there are so many people in the present course that I didn't want to, neither one of us wanted to just repeat the same course right away, because it wanted an opportunity. If somebody was in it and wanted to keep working with us in this way, in a group way, we wanted to be able to have a completely different content. And Nancy, you and I thought about it, and I said, Vin and I do certain things. We do these 4 to 6 steps every so often. Vin and I do it every year in January for our business, but we also do it every time we're ready to start something new. And so we put these together, Nancy and I, we started talking about it. Nancy's like, I do that. I do that.
Yeah.
I do that. And then you have these two things, your desire formula and other things that are just so valuable that I think I almost want us to have in every course that we do together, just because it's so ingenious what you came up with.
Thank
so
you.
yeah. So Nan, so tell us, like, I mean, I love these steps. I love these 6 steps because they're clear, they're actionable. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it kind of cleans out the cobwebs if your business is either just starting or it's feeling stagnant or you're just ready to ramp up. Tell us all your take on it, because you have a great way of describing it too.
You know, I actually do this more often than once a year. I do this every time I'm getting ready for a next big initiative, next big growth. You know how as an entrepreneur, your mind's always thinking, maybe I should do this, maybe I should do that, right? It's crazy.
Right.
All the time I feel like that. So probably about every 4 to 6 months, I will sit down and I will go through these 6 steps of figuring out what's been beneficial in the past? What am I spending money on? What should my marketing budget be? Et cetera, right? We're going to take you guys through step by step of what we do to analyze where our focus should be going forward, what we should be spending money on, how to optimize your time, how to nail your sales closing conversations, right? Because that is really important to provide that 6 weeks to success. How to set your business plan for your next big initiative to make sure you're not missing anything and you don't go off course chasing shiny objects, which everyone's heard that all the time, right? But it's true. If you don't have a plan, you just sort of get lost in the process sometimes. So this course, 6 weeks to success, I think I'm whistling while I say that, is meant to get you guys back on course, our participants in this, back on course with a group training program with LuAnn and I, 6 weeks in a row, starting January 4th.
Thursdays, 3:30 Eastern Time.
Correct, but it will always be taped. So should you be concerned that there's a Thursday you can't be there live, we always encourage everyone to be there live if you can. But if you can't, not to worry. It's going to be recorded. It's going to be sent to you. There will be some homework assignments, but it's meant to get your brain ready to take intentional action towards your next growth in your business and your life, really.
Right. And what I love about it is it's really very effective, whether, like I said, you are brand new in business, 3 years in business, or 30 plus years in business. It's something that can always be done. And like you said, you do it a couple of times a year. We do it at minimum once a year, and we do it when we're regrouping. And if it happens to be the middle of the year or whatever it is, but we're getting ready to, like you said, we're going to take something on and let's clean it. To me, it's sort of like, there's sometimes when you have a full day that you're going to come at your desk and you're going to work and you've got a to-do list with 25 things on it. And sometimes you're just like, okay, the first thing I'm going to do is clean off my desk, even if it takes me 45 minutes to get organized. And that's what this is, like a mental business, get organized so that you can now enact and create the plans that you want to carry out. And so I'm very excited, and I love it that it's 6 weeks. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Get it done. Get it going.
You want to give them the link, LuAnn, also, just in case they're hearing this now, they can go right over there.
That's right. So we're going to it's going to be LuAnnNiagara.com/6 weeks, and it's the number 6 and then the word weeks. Okay, LuAnnNiagara.com/6 weeks. And you're right. The link is live. I forgot. We've been talking about it for a couple of weeks. The link is live. So registration is open. And we look forward to having you in our group if you're interested. So now let's do this. Today, we are going to do your business in words. I love this exercise that you do, Nancy. I think it's so good. And again, what I love about this exercise is that it is not just for a new person in business. I have now redone it for myself for the podcast. I've redone it for WindowWorks. Yep. It's something that, because, our businesses evolve as years go by. You open up your doors, the first 4 years in business, maybe you are an interior designer that is, doing room refreshes and you're doing basically redecorations and you're not really getting into renovations, or you're not really doing bathrooms or kitchens and things like that. But maybe it's your 8th year in business and the last 3 projects were full-on renovations. Well, it's time to redo your business in words then, because your business focus has changed. So this is, I love this exercise, and I'm like talking like crazy pants here. So let's just get started in it. Take us through the steps, Nance. What do we want to do here?
Okay. So, this is part of taking 100% intentional action to growing your business, is really understanding what you do. So if I said to you, I'm a business coach, you would apply whatever knowledge you have in your past about what a business coach does. And I've told this story a couple of times. I had about 2 weeks ago, I had somebody reach out to me on Facebook and said, oh, I see you everywhere. You're a business coach, right? I'm like, yeah. Can you write my business plan for me? I said, well, I can help guide you through your business plan. Oh, well, I just want to talk and I want you to type and format it and everything. And I'm just like, no, that's not quite what a business coach does. Now, had I been able to get her on the phone, I would have been able to give her my business in words. And we're going to apply this to interior designers, but I'm going to read you my business in words. And then we're going to flip over and show how every entrepreneur, especially interior designers, will benefit from this exercise. Excuse me, I'm clearing my throat. Okay, so when I am at a networking event, or I am on the phone with somebody and I'm trying to introduce myself when we're having just casual conversation, or I'm on vacation and I've used this at charity events. It can be regular conversation. It could be where you stand up and you have 2 or 3 minutes to say what you do. It could be on your business card, one of the sentences. It can be on your website. So here goes. So if somebody said to me, we're chatting, and then they go, what do you do, Nancy? I say, I'm the most driven, action-focused, and hardworking business coach you're ever going to meet. And they go, really?
That was, I had just say to everybody, that was my you had me at hello sentence. When you and I were talking about one time your business in words, I was like, what is that? And then you explained and you said that sentence. I was like, oh, that's genius.
Yeah. Now think about it. If I would have said we're chatting about whatever and they say, oh, by the way, what do you do, Nancy? And I say, I'm a business coach.
Yeah. Like whatever.
They just go, oh, okay.
Do your other line again. It's so powerful. Okay.
I am the most driven, action-focused, and hardworking business coach you are ever going to meet.
You know what? I have to say what I love about this, and the reason I want to bring it up is because say you are standing at the line to pick up your kids at school, and the mother next to you or the father next to you says, oh, chit-chat and this, oh, what do you do for a living? Seriously, if you come back with a line like that, especially because in that environment, okay, we're not selling, we're not at a network meeting, we're not at a Chamber of Commerce meeting, we're not at a BNI. But the thing is, in that interaction, if you say it with just kind of a smile at the end, you have conveyed so much information and you haven't done it in a swarmy way. It's just, how could you not look back at somebody and go, wow, like, oh.
I was at a Toys for Tots charity event at a beautiful wedding type place, right? I didn't know anybody. So they sit us at this table and there was a man next to me and his wife next to him on the other side. And, we're just chatting about how beautiful the place was and, how did you end up getting here and who you're here with. And at one point he just said to me, what do you do? And I said my first sentence. I said, I'm the most driven, action-focused, hard-working business coach you will ever meet. And he went, really? My next sentence then, I said, yeah. I said, I partner with my clients to help them grow their business, get more sales, get over their fears, and go for what they really want in their work and their life. And he's like, how do you do that? I'm telling you, it works perfectly. And I said, through a series of coaching calls and emails and exercises, I help my clients reframe their doubts and help them make decisions and work through challenges with confidence to grow their sales and their income. I also work on time management and their business model and keeping them motivated, communications. And again, my sweet spot is sales. And at this point, he's leaning his head towards his wife. And it's a true story. And I said, yes. And he goes, she needs you. And I was like, okay, would you like my business card? Right. And then
go ahead.
I just said to him, nothing makes me happier than getting that call from a new client that said they attracted, somebody new and they're making more money and they're closing more sales.
Right.
And he's like, I totally need your business card.
Yeah.
I've used this 3 or 4 times, and every single time. One time it actually got me a 1-year one-on-one client, and other 2 times people got on my list and I can see they're tracking me. So
right.
That's the goal here of your business in words. And the reason why I wanted to get through mine is to show you how compelling it can be. Mm-hmm. And really it could be very mild conversation. You don't have to be as excited as I am.
We don't
as
have to be full frontal assault here. It could be quieter and softer, but the point is that you know exactly what you're going to say. It expresses exactly who you are, what you do, and how you do it. And I love it, as opposed to a lot of us where, oh, what do you do? Oh, I'm a window treatment person. Oh, really? Whatever. Moving on. It's like, oh,
exactly.
that sounds like the most boring thing on the planet.
And that's what happens at time and time again. I'll meet interior designers, and if I don't know what they do, I'll say, what do you do? I'm an interior designer. So now I'm applying. I happen to be knowledgeable because I used to run Expressive Living Art and Accessories and work with interior designers for 15 years. But I can hear my friends saying, well, do you know any interior designers? But they charge too much, right? Or they wouldn't work with someone like me, or I only need, curtains, how they say curtains,
right.
and window treatments, right? And I have to always convince them that there are interior designers with all different personalities, with all different business models that work in all different ways that will fit their lifestyle. And that is the goal of your business in words. So that first sentence, what type of interior designer are you? You're going to pick 3 adjectives. It's your title. It's 3 adjectives plus your title. So think about it. Are you thorough? Are you patient? Are you fun-loving? That could be good, right? But someone wants to make the process fun. Are you resourceful? Right. Are you
hands-on?
You could be
detail-orientated.
You could be ready, considerate. I mean, there's a whole list. Right. And just before I forget to say, if anyone is driving and not writing, I have this exercise in a webinar I did over a year ago. So they can get it at nancyganzekaufer.com/YBIW. It's basically the first Your Business in Words, YBIW.
Great.
So that's a 20-minute webinar that walks them through this. It's free. They get a PDF download. It adds them to my email list, just to full disclosure, but it will walk them through this whole process. Great. So anyway, I have met interior designers, and they all have different personalities, right? Some of them are just really I don't like this one, but somebody did say to me, I'm budget oriented. I'm budget oriented. I'm like, oh, do you really want to be? But maybe you do.
But you know what? There's a niche for that. There's an absolute niche for that. Not every single look. I know 2 designers that work in my area that literally, whether they use those words, and I would never, like you said, use them out loud to them, because if they don't just self-describe that way, but they are budget orientated. I mean, I'm just telling you, I know they are. And so there is, whether you just own it in that word is fine,
and that's okay,
right? Or figure out another way, cost conscious, or value minded, or whatever you want to use. But the point is that to figure out what really does describe exactly who you are in this process, right? What you bring to the table, that intangible as a personality that you bring to the table, right, Nance?
It is. It's very much related to who you are as a person when you're not working also, right?
Right.
It's are you experienced? Is that really saying enough about you? Do they care, right? They want to know that if they are a very frenetic personality and they want this done overnight, that you're the right designer for them.
Right.
And
they
want to know if they're,
like you said.
If they're laid back and they just want an easygoing process. Maybe their significant other is difficult to deal with, so they want somebody who is more experienced and laid back and intuitive. You want to, but here's the caveat. Don't think, what do people want to hear?
Exactly.
Be who you are, because this is a process of putting your true, genuine self and your personality as your profession out into the world on a regular basis in conversation, on your website, in your Facebook Lives, in your social media socializing, even at events like I did, charity events. I said this on vacation, and I got a client from Ireland, very interested. I don't think she's worked with me yet. She's just tracking me right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important when, don't you get asked how many times a year? So what do you do?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
So,
and your point to be authentic is true. Like if you are truly a big picture interior designer that doesn't really get involved, and there's a lot of designers that don't do floor plans, for example, right?
Yes.
So they just kind of say the sofa will go there, that will go there, and it'll all be fine. Don't worry, I got it. Right? They don't say that I'm detailed drawings or whatever. You know what I mean? Because the thing is that. And same thing. Don't say, high-powered, action-driven person if you really are a kind of person that takes their time and does things methodically and is looking, at because
maybe you're practical, maybe you're organized, maybe you're studious, maybe you're tolerant, right? These, obviously you're trying to pick positive adjectives about yourself and about how you portray yourself as an interior designer. And it's really key. And when I got a bunch of interior designers in a room and I said, how would you describe yourself? Really, every single one rarely had an overlap. They were all very different.
When you really ask people to drill down, because I think at first pass, most people are going to say creative, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that's what we're trying to really express here, that you want to drill past the obvious traits that almost any interior designer is going to bring to the table. Creative, color, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So the point is and how about that? There's lots of designers that are truly love color. I have a lot of conversations with designers this whole white and beige washed out stuff is making me crazy. I love color. But then there's designers that are just in love with the white and the beige and the sand and the taupes and the neutrals. And
that's my whole house.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, there's no right or wrong here. But if you're the girl or the guy that loves color on top of color on top of color, then you need to kind of express that. I'm bold, color, fearless,
Listen, you could say cutting edge.
Cutting edge, yeah.
If you're one of those designers that keeps up on all the trends or creates your own trends, you could say cutting edge. You could say a thorough, studious, passionate. I give a whole list in my exercise on the webinar of adjectives that you could be, plus all you have to do is Google and come up with more. Now, this is not as easy as it sounds, right? Because people always come up with they come up with 6 or 7 adjectives and they're like, oh, I don't know. The bottom line is in this whole exercise, it has to feel like you in the end.
Right.
So you could play with it and you could go over it and go, I can't let this roll off my tongue.
Right.
I'm forcing it, right?
You have to own
then
it.
You gotta redo it. And you've gotta, I have somebody who's redone it almost every week for 7 weeks. And because she just, there's one word that's sticking with her. Right. It's not quite expressing her. And then we finally came up with the word. Don't ask me what it was. I can't remember. But,
but the thing is, the truth is that it's both things. It really has to feel extremely personal and comfortable to you. And if it gets that, and if it gets there, then it's something that you can authentically share, because it's so important that it be authentically you, because you can't fake it. You can't say you're these 3 adjectives, use them in your marketing, use them in your conversations, use them on your websites. And then after 2 hours with you, somebody's like, you're not any of these things. And you could still be a really great interior designer, but now there's a disconnect in their perception of you. And so then that starts gets the whole consultation thing on the wrong foot. So, and you're going to change too, right? You're going to evolve, right?
You're going to get less patient.
Well, right. But also too, I could probably come up with 10 adjectives for me, and they're all going to be true, but maybe true for different tasks. So, let's just say in real life, in personality life, I'm loud and talking a lot and blah, blah, blah. But in interview LuAnn or sales LuAnn, I'm, leave people time to speak and ask questions and wait for answers. Whereas if you're just talking with me at a social gathering, I might like practically jump and sit in your pants in order to speak to you first. You know what I mean?
No,
it's like,
true,
I'm on your lap. Let's have a conversation.
That's very true, because I was different as an art consultant as I am as a coach.
Right.
You're different podcaster as you are a coach and a window treatment expert. So it's true. But here's the beauty, and I want everyone to not get stressed over this, because it's not necessarily something you have to memorize. All you have to remember is the formula. 3 adjectives and my title.
Okay.
So when you're talking to someone and they've now told you their whole life story about how, they're raising their kids and this and that and blah, 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 and you're registering what type of person like you're being when you're with them, you can actually change the adjectives, and whatever rolls off your tongue is going to be okay.
Right.
It's really
Pull
just
out the
knowing
parts
that
of your
formula.
personality that will speak to this type of consumer, if you're interested in working with that consumer or whatever.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
But
Right.
still
So that's
real
just the first
things.
sentence.
Yes. Okay. So that's the first thing. So 3 adjectives, spend time doing an exercise, really put 30 adjectives down. You know what I mean? Right? Exactly.
Try not to do that many, because you'll get yourself all confused.
See, I'm the over-researcher. We all know that.
No, don't do that. I always tell everyone, pick like 6 or 7, and then we'll analyze those. And even with 6 or 7, people have trouble because, your personality is multifaceted. So that's the bottom line. Yeah. Okay, second sentence. Combine your ideal client with what problem you help them solve. Okay, so is your ideal client a growing family? Is your ideal client a single male? Is it a busy professional couples? Are they people who are downsizing in their life now, right sizing, as I like to call it, because I'm ready to do that. Who is your ideal client, and what problem do you help them solve? So, for example, you can say something like, I'm looking at a business in words, and she created it a little differently, which is what I love about this process also. So in my case, I partner with my entrepreneurial clients to help them grow their business, get more sales, and get over the fear. So who is my ideal client, and what do I do for them? Okay. So you could say something like, I work with busy professionals who lack the time to really get focused or even know where to begin. I help them get the design plan figured out and have the knowledge to take them through every step. Right? So you want to identify who your ideal client, or I work with busy families to optimize storage space, make it a comfortable kitchen for their family time together, right? So you want to say, listen, so many people go, everyone's my client. And the bottom line is, even though you're all very talented and you can work at many different levels, there's a point where you have found your ideal client. You either fantasize about them or you've had them in your past. So who were they? And it's not about how much money they make. It's more about who they are as people. Right. So what stage of life are they in? Who are they? You want to be able to drill that down and be able to say, what do you do for them? So I work with single men to make their home a little bit more feminine so that they're really comfortable when they're entertaining their female guests, right? Or I work with single women recently through a divorce to help them make a most maintenance-free home that they could possibly have, making everything easy for them. Right.
We've had on the show, I'll never remember the name. It was in the first couple of months, but one of the designers described, I'm just getting snippets of the conversation, how after several months of going back, after several months of business, she went back and looked and realized that the largest majority of her clients were divorced people.
Yeah.
And then realized, I'm good working with these people. And I don't remember what the rest of the conversation was at this point, but in my mind right now, it could be that particular designer is a compassionate person and understands that somebody who always for however many years had another person to bounce every big ticket decision off of now doesn't have somebody to bounce that off of. So the designer in that case is a more patient designer probably, or a designer that takes more time to show different options in different price points so that the person doesn't feel pressured that all these price points are in the same and should I be looking at others? You know, I'm just thinking about different ways that you really are different no matter what the room is that you create. Right.
Absolutely.
You
so
really
let's say you work
different.
with real estate agents, right? Real estate agents helping them show their clients how when they move into the home, their vision can be achieved.
Right. Right.
Right. So if you work with contractors right from the beginning, you could say I work with contractors right from the beginning of a project to make sure that every outlet, every light switch, every, all the things that go wrong after the fact, all the windows are placed properly right from the beginning. Now, again, I know a lot of people think, well, I can do all of that, but I'm asking you to say, who's your next initiative? Who do you really want to get to? Who do you want your personality to connect? Who do you want to attract? Exactly.
Well, and the difference too is, think about it. Even if you're talking with somebody and maybe your specialty is working with realtors, for example, and if you're talking to somebody at the PTA meeting or networking, wherever it might be, and you say, I'm an interior designer. Oh, really? What do you do? Well, I work with a lot of realtors. I mean, that's typical. I know that I would have been guilty of that too. Oh, we work with a lot of, like, if most of my work is with realtors, I might say, well, I can do anything, but I work with a lot of realtors. But think about and hear the difference. I'm an interior designer who works with realtors so that when they are showing a home or they have showed a home to a potential client, I help them visualize the changes that could be made so that they can visualize how that could be their home or whatever it is.
Right.
Yeah.
I help realtors sell homes.
Right. You said it better.
By meeting them on location.
Exactly.
The bottom line is the realtor's your client, so you want to appeal to them, right? I help realtors sell homes by giving a, either low cost or free consultation with a potential buyer to help them visualize how that could be their home.
Right. See, that's what I'm saying. That is such a very directed sentence that whether I'm a realtor or not, if I know a realtor, do you think I'm not going to remember to tell them about that designer? I'm going to be like, I met a designer that specializes in working with realtors. I'm going to say, oh, yeah, a lot of them do. No. This one actually works with you to sell your house, to sell the houses. It's just different. Right. It just makes you more memorable, right?
Right.
And identifies what you're going to do.
It's so powerful. I can't tell you how powerful this whole exercise is, and knowing how to deliver it properly. And again, you're in a conversation with somebody who you can help them, but it's not in the business and words that you memorized. Just know the formula. Right. Who's your ideal client and what problem do you help them solve? So someone's standing there telling you their entire problem with their house. You decide you want to work with them. You could say, I help people exactly like you, busy families who are trying to raise their kids, and I help them, blah, 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 do exactly what you've been telling me you need.
Exactly.
So it's morphable, and that's the perfect part of this. It's a formula. So, okay, first sentence, who you are with 3 adjectives. Second sentence, combine your ideal client with what problem you help them solve. The third sentence locks a lot of people up because it's, how do you do it? What do you do? You could throw in your skill set. What are your services? So when I went through that with mine, I gave you the picture of how you could work with me through a series of coaching calls, emails, exercises, right? I told you how I work. And then I told you what I help people with, their business model, their time management, motivation, marketing, communication, and sales. I didn't have to put all of them in there depending on my situation. So as an interior designer, what is your process? My consultation consists of what? You assess their needs through conversation. Is it first over the phone, then in person? How many meetings do you have with them? Are you an interior designer who shops with them? Are you an interior designer who has a program like MyDoma where you can actually upload selections for them? So you want to let them visualize. So if you're dealing with a really busy young powerful couple and they have no time, and the last thing they want to hear is, well, I'm going to come to your house every week and we're going to go over the next step and we're going to meet in person every time. Imagine if you were the designer who said, I'm completely online. I'm going to upload all the selections to House or to MyDoma or to Pinterest or just to email them to you or to any other interior design studio platform, right? And you, while you're at work, will be able to give a quick glance and give me some feedback. And then I'll go from there. Next time you'll hear from me is blah, blah, blah. It depends on who you are as a designer. What's your process? Are you the type who walks a space and then needs 2 weeks to kind of mull over it and think about it? You know, like my web designer, it was not the kind who would just be like, got it, get it done in 2 weeks. She was like, I need my 2 week creative time. Like when I'm thinking about what I want to represent you and I want to research you. So I appreciated her telling me her process up front.
Right. So you don't think that she's 2 weeks late. When she's 2 weeks, she's right on time.
Exactly.
Well, it's a big difference, because if you end a conversation with somebody and you say, okay, I'll get back to you. Well, we, like you said in the beginning, we all have our own conception of what every single thing somebody says to us means, unless we, as the grown-up in the conversation, clarify what we meant by that. So I'll get back to you. Okay, one person walks away and thinks, okay, probably in a couple of days. The other person walks away and think, well, my process is 2 weeks. Say your process.
Say your process. What the flow of the process is really more important. You want them to be able to imagine working with you. So let me see if I can get you an example here. I have so many of these all over the place. So through a series of live and virtual consultations, I get to know you, your personality, your style, and your needs. Or if you're making a presentation, you're changing it to through a series of live and virtual consultations, I get to know who they are, because you've already talked about your client, their personalities, their styles, and needs. Then I create a fully inclusive design plan from floor to ceiling, present it to them, make final adjustments, and move forward to procure all the items on their behalf to make it a turnkey ready room.
And that's if you do that.
That's if you do that.
Right.
If you don't do that, you want to, but this is the point. I'm reading you snippets and I'll put them all together later. You might hear them again. So my consultations consist of assessing the needs of my clients through conversation, touring the space, and looking at the environment for things like lighting, architectural elements, and furnishing requirements. So that's how another designer describes her process.
Like I have a designer here that I've mentioned a couple of times that I work with. She does absolutely no purchasing. She does nothing. She literally is strictly by the hour. She advises you, and then you go off into, retail land and buy everything yourself.
There's a need for that.
Well,
That's
exactly.
fabulous.
There's total need for that. And so, but the thing is, so her thing might be, in a series of hourly consultations, I'm going to suggest to you where your furniture should be placed. If you need replacement pieces of furniture, the size and scale that you should be looking at, yada, yada, yada. And then once you've gone out on your own and made these purchases, if you want me to come back in and accessorize, that I can also continue to do on an hourly basis. And at the end of it, you will have done a lot of the work with my guidance and my hand holding through it. La, la, la. Like that's her process, right? I mean,
Love it.
So somebody is going to hear that and go, oh, heck no. No. I'm not going to any stores. Like I want you to just bring me cut sheets and I want you to figure everything out. And somebody else is going to run over to their, husband or their spouse and say, this is awesome. We're just going to pay for the advice and then we get to go to Wayfair ourselves. Like bite my tongue, right? Everybody just went, stop, LuAnn.
Yeah.
But the point is that is the truth, though. There is a market for everything. And if you express what it is, your sweet spot is, the way you want to work, you will find and attract those people to you.
Definitely. And again, everyone's process is different, who they've become. This can be done over and over again as you evolve as an interior designer. And it's never wrong as long as you're doing it from your heart. Exactly. The last sentence is really my favorite because I always ask my clients, what happens at the end of a job that makes you really happy? And this is how you answer the fourth sentence, which is add enthusiasm. What makes you feel great at the end of the job, right? So for me, it's when I get that, email from my clients going, oh my God, I got that sale that I role played with you the other day. For an interior design, it could be they got a hug at the end of the job. The person's so happy, or they get a phone call going, oh my God, my kitchen is just perfect. It's exactly what I wanted, right? Or that you made it stress-free for the client. So nothing makes me happier than when I make it stress-free. So it could sound something like, This is one. I have such a passion for color and design, and the best part of my job is when my clients give me a hug at the end. Right? She's a much quieter interior designer. I'll read you her whole business in words in a little while. And then another person said, nothing feels better than me than relieving the stress of my clients by handling all the details and steps to getting the home they love to live in. Right? I mean, how nice is that?
Right. And and again, just to give other examples, you could break it down. If your specialty is organization for big, families growing and pets and kids and all kinds of things. I just love it when my clients can go in their kitchen, their pantry, their laundry room, and everything is exactly where it should be, and it all has its spot. Right. Like, that's a big thing. That your mudroom is in chaos and you're like, so, but these are all the different types of things. So you're saying that the fourth sentence is for yourself personally as an interior designer to think about what makes the job a success for you, and then turn that into a sentence expressing how that happened to you, for you, and to you, right? Okay.
Because you're going to be you want to be an attractive character, right? You want to be an attractive person. Right. And the way you're going to be attractive to other people is by showing your own passion and what excites you. So that excitement at the end of your business in words really draws people in. And I'm going to add one other thing. So that was four sentences, right? It's who you are, your adjectives plus your title, your ideal client, and what problem you help them solve. Third one is how do you do it? What do you do? What are your services? You want to kind of give them a visual of your process so they can imagine working with you. And then the fourth is add enthusiasm. So the webinar that I directed people to, just go over those four. But recently I've added something you can do in the beginning if you're standing up. Some of these B&I groups, you actually stand up and you give a story about yourself, right? And you also say who you are, and you have 2 or 3 minutes. Well, this is not going to take you 2 or 3 minutes. So what I realized is I naturally attract based on my history and when I talk about myself. So when I stood up at I think it's called Over 40 Females. They just rebranded as What Women Want. It was all women. And I stood up and I said, something like, a few years ago, after being a first vice president of a bank for 10 years, a personal fitness instructor for 5, a stay-at-home mom only for 2, because that didn't last very long, and then recreating myself once again as a service-driven art consultant to interior designers in the New York tri-state area, I realized that growing businesses is what I love to do. And then I went into, so what do I do now? I help other creative, hardworking entrepreneurs grow their businesses. And then I went into my first sentence. I am the most driven, blah, 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 blah.
It's like candy out of the hand. I love
right.
it.
Don't you want to hire me right now, LuAnn? Well, that's why we have a group together.
It's the truth. I am so serious. No, I have to say, it just is so plainly obvious how nicely this works, honestly. And the thing is, it's just what I love, that it's a system, it's a formula to get at something that just sounds so natural and so informative and exciting. And the thing is, it's not just about, like, I feel like it could be the same. What it is it conveys so much information in such a non-confrontational way.
Listen, my forte is communication and sales.
Yeah.
This is a non-salesy way of people thinking, gee, I might want to work with her. Let me see what she has to offer. Let me get on her calendar for her free 20-minute consultation, right? That's what you guys want as an interior designer. You want a non-salesy way of presenting who you are. So somebody wants to pick up that phone and call you and go, listen, I have a project. I wanted to tell you about it. And then you can go into what the other thing I teach with you, LuAnn, and separate the desire sales formula, which is another whole thing on how to close a sale. But this is just being you. Tell your story. Like what I when I did a live presentation last week, I asked one of the designers, would you be willing to stand up and tell me why you became an interior designer? And she stood up and she told a story about how she was a secretary in Manhattan, and she, was having her first baby. When her son was born, he was born very ill. And she had to, no choice, stay home with him for 2 years. And which is a similar story to mine. I had the same
you
thing.
had the same thing happen.
Right.
Yeah.
But when she thought about going back to work, she realized she had an opportunity to recreate herself. And what she loved to do and what she helped all her family members with and all her friends with was always redesigning their spaces. So she went back and got a degree. Now, that's very similar to a lot of interior designers, but so that you may not think that makes her special, but if she's in a group of women, PTA, country club, on vacation with non-designers, right? You're going to not necessarily be saying this to each other, right? So I immediately said, I had a son who was sick too. Like, that's why you and I get along. Like, so I related to something in her story. There might have been someone else there that recreated themselves after being a secretary. There might be someone in that room who worked in Manhattan and hated it and got out of it too and decided a home-based business. Whatever, the more information you give someone, the point of this is the more information you give someone, the more relatable points they have to you because they've lived life too.
Mm-hmm. What I also love about it is, we've both found in working with coaching clients and so forth is that a lot of people, not just interior designers, but a lot of people struggle with that quote unquote small talk at networking events and struggle with feeling uncomfortable about what to say and how to say it and who to say it to. And there are, we've discussed in the sessions, there are X amount of other things that you can do to make that process more comfortable. But this, to me, is by far one of the top 3 ways, because if you really just, to me, what it does is it takes away that whole, I'm standing here and I don't know you and I have to sell myself on you. It takes that away. It takes it to, these are the ways that I serve people. These are the things that I'm excited about, the way I serve people. These are the things that happen when I get the chance to serve people, and so what happens is, if you do struggle with that particular type of scenario, going into meet and greets and going into these type of things, or it gives, this is a very actionable set of questions that you can really ask yourself. And at the end of it, I believe, come up with just such a easy, natural, flowing thing that all it does is tell everybody the best parts about who you are, what your business is, and how you help people. And who doesn't want to hear that? I want to hear that. When I meet you, I want to hear all of that. I want to know.
It's a conversation extender, LuAnn.
Exactly.
It really is, because if you just say, I'm an interior designer, hands down, most of the time you go, oh, that sounds like fun.
Exactly.
Or you get,
that must be so cool.
Oh, you'd never work with, I wish I could work with an interior designer, but I can't, right? Where you're giving them more about you and whether you're open to them as a client and what you do and your enthusiasm. And even if you're a very quiet person, the person, I'll read you one now that came from a quieter interior designer. She's very reserved. So she wouldn't be saying with all this excitement that I said.
I'm a loudmouth New Jersey crazy person.
And my Long Island accent,
That's
right?
it.
So she just said, she came up with this. I'm a knowledgeable, creative, and very intuitive interior designer with a specialty in color consulting. I work on all stages of design projects, including new constructions, renovations, and updatings of homes and businesses. I systematically zone in on the best color and design solutions while providing a stress-free and enjoyable experience with great results. My consultations consist of assessing, there's a lot of S's in this, the needs of my clients through conversation, touring the space, and looking at the environment for things like lighting, architectural elements, and furnishing requirements. I have such a passion for color and design, and the best part of my job is when I get a hug at the end.
I love it.
She worked on this for a while. The bottom line is, it has to feel right to you. You can morph it. I'm giving you the structure.
Right.
You can morph it a little bit.
Right.
Let me give you one more. I am an innovative, trustworthy, and experienced interior designer specializing in creating beautiful homes for busy professionals. Often busy professionals lack the time to get the focus or even know where to begin. I help them get the design plan figured out, have the knowledge to take them through every step, and a team of experienced professionals that I work with. Through personal one-on-one meetings, phone calls, emails, and texts, I will lay out the vision, the goal, the budget, and the timeline to ensure the project's success. Nothing feels better to me than relieving the stress of my client by handling all the details and steps to getting the home they love to live in.
Yeah, see, that's a slam dunk. I'm going to tell you what, you said a lot of things. Every single thing in that speaks to that busy person or couple. And here's two things. The word team in there, I have a team. When you're talking to the busy person, you know what I heard when you said that? Because I'm that lady, I'm that busy person. I thought, oh, good, I don't have to find a painter when we get to that part. Oh, good, I don't have to find a plumber when we get to that part. So by expressing that, that is awesome. And at the end, when you say to me, and you love taking care of all those details, I'm like, oh, good, I don't feel guilty when I don't feel like doing it. And so that's just it. In other words, that one spoke to me. And so that really got me. The other one is as valid, as worthy, as wonderful. I love the word trustworthy in there. I love that, she talked about how she's going to put the scope together, the color plan first and blah, blah, blah. But when you are when you are saying something that speaks to your person can't avoid it, can't not be tempted by it. So, I'm just experiencing it as a person. You know what I'm saying? And it's like the second one, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll have some of that. Take care of all of it for me. Thank you.
But if that first one was reading it to you're going to appeal to everyone all the time. That's one of the biggest mistakes people make. Trying to appeal to everyone all the time because you're trying to satisfy them.
Well, that's right, because you can't satisfy you. The person that wants their handheld and wants to be part of the process, and the client I'm talking about, that wants to see all the things and wants to really work with their own contractors and all of that. That's a different person. And that is usually, you can say as an interior designer, I can do either. And maybe you can, but the whole thing is, which one do you want to work with? Do you want to work with the client that wants you to handle everything and show up once a week by email with a status quo of what's going on? Or do you want to work with the client that wants more engagement and more involvement? See, because one of those or the other is going to make you as a person happier. That's what we're talking about. It's not that you can't, you're a grown person out there. You could pony up and work with either a busy professional or a very involved person. I know that. What one do you want to work with? That's the point. Talk to that person, because there's one that is going to make you happier. And it's your business, so be happy in it.
Yeah, this is a process of the law of attraction, right? Put out who you are, how you do it, who you help. I reverse that order, and you will start to attract. I mean, I live my business. I live it in my, when I'm at parties and people, I don't say, oh, by the way, this is what I do for a living. If they ask me, I know how to present myself in a way that if anyone's in the vicinity or they know of anyone who may need my services, it'll make sense to them, and they can visualize it. When I was an art consultant, that's the hardest thing to explain, right? So this is where I started coming up with this, even before I started coaching, because I was like, I'm an art consultant.
Yeah. Hello, dead air.
Well, okay,
what does that mean?
What does that mean?
You work for Sotheby's, Christie's, you work at the MoMA. Like, what do you do? What does that mean?
Right. So
you
I
hang pictures at Fortune Off. Like, what does that mean?
Exactly. I had to come up with I'm an art consultant to interior designers in the New York tri-state area. I actually bring 500 pieces of art and 3 framing cases to the client's home with the interior designer. I help them select the artwork, select the framing, all on premise. We bring it in for framing. We bring it back and make sure it's hung on the wall at the appropriate height. We do all that for the interior designers, and they're like, "Oh my God, do you work outside of interior designers?" Right. Because I had to come up with a way to describe what I do, and then of course the story of how I became. They can listen to episode 15, I think, on that one.
Yes, we told on
how I became an art consultant, and that's what drew people to me.
Well, and what I love about it too is, and let's just make sure we're clear. I know we've said it, but let's be clear. It's not like when somebody looks at you and the waiter hands you both a glass of wine and the stranger looks at you and says, "Hi, I'm Sally. What's your name?" You don't go, "Hi, I'm Nancy and I'm rock consultant." You don't run down the line. You start with the first line. You start with your 3 descriptive words about you and your title. And if the person looks at you and goes, "So what?" and walks away, you're done. Okay, you're done. Like, we're not chasing them to tell them the rest of the story. Okay, but they're not going to. That's sort of the cool thing about it. If somebody comes at me with, "Hi, I'm LuAnn. What's your name?" "Oh, I'm Susan." "Oh, what do you do, Susan?" "Well, I'm a very trustworthy, intuitive, creative interior designer." Like, I'm like, "Oh, really?" Because maybe just because I'm very curious, but I'm like, what makes you so intuitive in interior design? Like, I'm going to pick one of them and go, "What? Well, how does that work? I don't get that." Like, and then you're going to say your next line. I mean, that's the thing. So I just want to make sure that you understand that this is an exercise that takes time to do. Invest in yourself and do this exercise. Learn it, like Nancy said, inside and out, so that you can switch it around and you're comfortable with your different adjectives and you're comfortable with your different sentences. But then you lay it on people in conversation, like a human being.
Right. It's for networking events when you are given 2 or 3 minutes to stand up and say who you are. Yes,
and you can run through the whole thing, right?
It can be one sentence on a business card. Sometimes people put something on the back and they want to put a little bit more about themselves. That first sentence is a beautiful thing.
Right.
It could be your bio on your website.
Right.
It says a lot about you, and it says a lot about you, yet it's all about them,
right?
Which is what you want your bio to be.
Exactly.
It's still about them, right?
Yep,
but yet tells about you. Social media, when you're socializing, what do you do? It could be part of your email signature. It could be in all kinds of introductions, and that's the key. So it sounds easier when I'm saying it possibly than when you actually sit down. So I'm offering, as I always do, the free 20 minutes for anyone who wants to get on my calendar. meetme.so/Nancy Ganzekaufer, or you just look me up, Nancy Ganzekaufer, and you'll find my website, and you can get on my calendar for a free 20-minute, no sales pitch, just working on your business in words. But have a draft. Have a draft ready.
Come to it with some information, right? So you can get something accomplished in 20 minutes. Because that's the truth. If you really were to do these 4 steps on your own, and then you felt like you needed a little help or confirmation or tweaking, now that 20 minutes, you're leaving with it nice. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I love it. That's nice of you to offer that, Nance. That's amazing. That's great.
I do that for anyone who wants to work with me, the free 20 minutes, so I can make sure that I want to work with them too, right? This is mutual.
But this is like a no strings thing. If somebody really wants to do these 4 steps and just says, "Hey, Nance, will you check me out?" You will spend 20 minutes giving them a yay or a nay or giving them some tweaks.
Yes, I will.
I love it a lot. Okay. All right. So, if you like this energy together on the same place, then you might like to be in our coaching sessions. I'm just saying. So we are starting January 4th. We're going to go 6 consecutive Thursdays. We will meet at 3:30 Eastern Time. We did have a lot of participants in Europe and Australia for our first coaching session, so we felt like that's sort of the sweet spot. It's late at night for European clients, but early in the morning for Australian clients, and noon for Pacific Coast, and 3:30. It was very challenging, but that's where we're at. But of course, as Nancy said, there is always the replay of it that gets emailed to you the following day, so you don't have to worry about it if it's not your time zone, or if it is your time zone, but that's when you're working and there's not any possibility of being able to, a lot of people, the interior designers, their side hustle, so you might be able to look at their boss and say, got a coaching session at 3:30, sorry. So, but we do our best. We bring it all. We leave nothing behind. If you're interested, please go over to LuAnnNigara.com/6 weeks. The number 6 weeks. And you can see a little bit more information and how you can get involved if you like. In the meantime, you can go to NancyGanzekaufer.com and you can take advantage of her free 20-minute little strategy session there on your business in words if you're interested. And I just think it's awesome. I love it. Thank you so much for joining me. I love spending my time with you, Nance, and I appreciate your sharing this with the audience today. I love it. Thank you.
Thank you, LuAnn, for having me again. I really love your podcast, and I love doing the podcast and the coaching with you. Oh, it's a good team.
Thanks. Thank you for joining me again today for another episode of A Well-Designed Business. This podcast is a production of WindowWorks in Livingston, New Jersey, your trade resource for custom window treatments and awnings. Learn more about WindowWorks at www.windowworks-nj.com. All of our music is original music by Room 2 Productions. Please contact us if you want to learn more about original music for your business or your events.